It's calm, it's control, it's experience. Those things have just increased value to consumers, even more so than price itself.
Hi, I'm Adam West, industry news editor for cardrates.com. Today I'm here with Doug Villone, the head of US cards and partnerships at Barclays. We'll be talking about the travel rewards and loyalty pulse survey that'll be coming out soon. So, Doug, first, thanks for joining
Hey,
us.
thanks for having me again, Adam. It's always great to be with you.
It's good to see you again. Okay, so I want to dive into some of the stats that you guys
Sure.
pulled out on this report. I think it's pretty interesting. So, I guess the new survey, one of the top line things I saw was that luxury and travel is kind of shifting from indulgence to something closer to control and calmness. And, I guess I'd be curious to pick your brain on what's driving that shift and how travelers define a better travel experience.
Yeah, it's really interesting, but not terribly surprising for us at Barclays. We work with some of the largest airlines and hotels, cruise lines in the world, and so it's something we've been seeing in some of our data as well, and it's how we've tailored some of our products. But at the end of the day, I mean, if you turn on the TV today, you'll hear stories about TSA lines, and obviously we've had a very difficult winter, particularly in the East Coast, and flight cancellations, and so the majority of our customers, in some cases, say 70 to 80% of those we surveyed, commented on how that experience of traveling has become very difficult, and they're looking for ways to control that better. That could be in the form of expedited security, having a lounge, getting on the plane first, ensuring that you have a place for your bag, whatever it may be. But those things, that having a little bit of a larger seat or being able to seat the family together, these are things that dramatically increase the experience and are where consumers are really telling us that they want to have better control.
And so, just on the back of that, like how should issuers be thinking about this new shift in consumer preference?
Yeah, well, and I think we may have talked about this last time we spoke. The loyalty programs of, 10 years ago, 20 years ago were predominantly miles and points driven, which would allow you to get free travel. And that is still important to consumers. That does motivate them to be loyal to a brand and to use a loyalty program. However, what you've seen in the products today, products we've created, others have created, and the industry's created, are those that also unlock access experiences, allowing you to, you know, access a lounge or have expedited security or get on the plane first or whatever, maybe even fly with your pet, whatever the case may be. These are things that people see valuable. The other thing you've seen is with the currency itself, it used to be I could use miles to get a free ticket. Now I can use miles to upgrade my seat, and things like that. Or maybe use the miles for ancillary fees, pay for extra bags or oversized bags. And now I can use currency for those things or potentially buy a lounge pass. So these are the things that are giving the currency more utility, but are also tapping into what the consumer is saying is important to them. And if you think about many of the consumers who are traveling the most tend to fall into a more mass affluent segment. So the actual getting the free ticket may be less important than actually having the experience they want to have with their loved ones.
Interesting. How do you see this playing out from like a partnership perspective? Does this open up new opportunities based on this
Yeah,
preference?
it does. And so I think if you think about our business, which is co-branded credit cards with some of America's best brands, our partners can bring unique assets to the table. So they can, for example, with our JetBlue Premier card, we just opened a lounge at JFK, only available to those who have the very highest status with the airline or our premium product. So there's just an ability to customize product to potentially create benefits that are only available to those who maybe carry that loyalty product, have a certain status within the loyalty product, or a credit card that is a part of that loyalty program.
Yeah. I want to shift over to the some of the AI findings in the
Yeah.
report. The data said 72% of travelers are already using AI for parts of their trip planning. So, how might that change the role of credit card travel portals and rewards platforms?
Yeah, it's a good question, and I think the jury's still out to some degree. Our research shows that consumers are using AI at a higher and higher rate. I believe it was over 70% are using AI in some part of the travel experience. However, we still see travel agencies being very relevant, especially for that more complex travel. So If you're going to be taking your family and you're going to be going to 4 or 5 places in Italy for 2 weeks with hotels, tours, Airbnbs, etc., you probably still want a travel agent, but you may use AI or likely use AI to help you plan components of it, find the best price on airfare, maybe the closest airports to where you're going to be, and things to do. So we are seeing a combination of those things, but AI is absolutely playing a part in customers being able to research, understand travel, and probably really get a sense of, are they getting a good value for the trip they're about to take?
You kind of already got into this just a little bit there, but more than half of travelers, despite using AI for some portion of their trip planning at higher rates, more than half still would prefer to use like a human as part of this experience, somewhere in the mix. So what does that say about the importance of concierge services and human support within premium card
I
programs?
think they're still super relevant. I mean, AI and so an assistant of various forms can be really helpful in many, many tasks. But at the end of the day, we're still finding that consumers still want that human touch, especially maybe before they press the button to book the whole trip. So, a concierge, if you think about it, is really helping you with some of those most complex travel needs, those hard to get tickets, those hard to get restaurants, maybe also just looking for recommendations and advice. And we still find that there's still relevance in that human interaction. Again, with the more complex, maybe those more special, once in a lifetime experiences. Again, one thing we're all starved for is time. And so that special time that you have to do something special with your loved ones is still something that there's still a human connection involved in, and we still see that being very relevant.
Yeah, definitely. I want to shift back over to kind of that, calm aspect that people seem to be craving these days. So, some of the top upgrades that travelers want based on the report include expedited security, priority boarding, flexible hotel check-ins, and all of these are kind of about reducing friction. So, why do those kind of benefits resonate so strongly right now?
I think it kind of gets back to the things I said about time, experience, control. The process of traveling has often become unpleasant. Flight delays are higher than each year. Those tend to be more challenging as airspace and airports get more congested, security lines, all those sorts of things. Having the flexibility that if you are delayed, you can check into your hotel, check out late, or you can check in early. Those sorts of things, again, are all unlocks that I think when consumers know that they have a refuge in the airport or they have, if they're running late because they hit traffic and they can get through the security line faster, these are things that have incredibly high perceived value because you're right. You use the word calm. I mean, it's calm, it's control, it's experience. Those things are we're showing have just increased value to consumers, even more so than price itself. And so, and I think if you see the premiumization of products out there and how many airlines in particular are adding premium products in the front of the plane, it's really just tapping into that growing demand. If you think about you're about to go on your vacation you've planned for all year, you hate to start it with an unpleasant security, embarkment and then, even while you're on the plane. So these are things that, again, I think we're finding that consumers are putting a high amount of value on.
Yeah, I've been through similar experiences. I had a trip to France one time where we had to sprint through Orlando airport and had to like budge past like 300 people to get to the front of the line so we could actually get on the plane on time. And like honestly, like as great as that trip was, I still remember that airport experience more than any.
Exactly. I mean, if you think about even things, many loyalty programs will unlock same day changes, free changes of flights, free standby, priority boarding, like all those sorts of things dramatically change the experience. I know when you're traveling with a family and your family can board with you, makes a huge, huge difference. So the loyalty it creates and the perceived value. I know that there's been times I've booked a more expensive plane ticket just because I knew there was certain access I would get as a result of the status I had with that particular airline. And again, if it's a couple of times a year, you're taking that special trip, sometimes it's a small price to pay. And then if you have a program or a card or whatever that would give you that access just by your loyalty, it's incredibly compelling.
Man, I feel like I lost a couple years of my life on that day. So I think paying up for expedited access and just a stress-free experience is definitely worth it. Especially if you don't travel frequently, you got to make the most of it, I think.
Yeah,
So
I remember a family vacation. We were heading to Cancun and I had a very bad security experience and we almost all missed the flight. And that was not a great way to start a trip. So again, anything that avoids that is high
yeah.
on people's list.
Yeah. Doug, I think I just have maybe one more for you. What surprised you most in the data that's coming out in this poll survey? Like, what should the industry be paying attention as we head toward the release of the full report?
I mean, I think I've commented on it. I think the focus on control and having a calm experience, the things we've talked about regarding AI, the fact that consumers want flexibility in how they can use their currency for upgrades. I think what surprised us was not that those things were there, is the extent to which they were at 70 and 80+%. So the trends are not marginal. They're very pronounced. And so it's the consumer's preferences are incredibly clear. So it's speaking in a very loud voice what's important to them.
Yeah, it's good data for an issuer for sure to be able to respond to. Yeah, so finally, I always just kind of like to open the floor at the end to see if there's anything we didn't really cover or anything that you just really want to emphasize here.
This data is informing how we are approaching product design. We are refreshing many of our products with most of our partners. We are adding premium products with many of our partners. We're actually relaunching a premium product with one of our partners, one of our airline partners now. So all of this is feeding into that actual design. So our goal is to ensure that the products continue to resonate as these trends are becoming more and more pronounced. I think over the last couple of years, we've been on the cutting edge of some of these trends, but we have several more products hitting the market that kind of tap into all of these trends. And so I mean, that's what we do is we need to make sure that these products continue to be as relevant as ever. And I think what we've also seen is that the need to refresh products, add benefits, tweak benefits to stay relevant has accelerated. We used to change a value prop on a card maybe every 5 or 6 years. It's not uncommon to be doing that every 2 or 3 years. And that could even happen more often in the future, just depending on what customers' preferences are.
Yeah, well, we'll definitely be paying attention and covering all these new product updates and relaunches, and we're always keeping our finger on the pulse over here on anything that's happening in the world of credit cards, and we are doing our best to report on it through our daily coverage. But I think that's all we had time for today. But I wanted to thank you, Doug, for being so accessible. It's always great to pick your brain on credit cards.
Anytime. Great to see you, Adam. Take care.